Open Your Eyes is brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I am Isana Caetano.
And it's a wonderful Monday morning, the start of another great week, Isani.
Yes. It's June 10th.
June 10th.
Back to work.
Definitely, it's good to be on set on a Monday morning, and especially with you by my side. How was your weekend?
Quite eventful.
Yeah, quite eventful.
More so than I thought it would have been.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've taken the past 2 days to rest or relax. I'd be lying to myself and to our viewers, but safe to say that it was a weekend chock full of activities, and I tried to get the most out of it.
That's wonderful. I think one of the things that Belizeans, especially in Belize City, had to grapple with this weekend was the immense heat, but more so the humidity. That we were expecting some rains. We got some on Saturday night, I believe, early into the morning, and thereafter, I mean, the heat just came, the humidity. But the good thing is we're over the weekend. For those who have AC at their workplace.
I never complain when it rains. The reason being because I pride myself to an extent as an avid gardener, right?
Right.
And the fact that we haven't been experiencing showers, for this long. The rain on Saturday night was welcome.
It was.
I woke up yesterday morning and I stepped out into my garden and I appreciated it for what it was. Right?
Thunder, lightning and all.
Well, I was on the sheets. Right? But when I woke up the following morning, the plants breathe a new, life.
Yeah, definitely. But certainly there's a lot buzzing this morning, and then we also have our eye on the news that our viewers look forward to on a Monday morning. And we want to jump right into what's buzzing. Where do we start? Do we local or do we go international?
Let's go international first.
All right.
Get that out of the way, then we'll make room for a more proper local conversation on another matter that's
So we're going to go international first, Isani, and there's a Diddy development.
Yes.
If you want to put it that way.
Yes.
And it's regarding his Howard University relationship, which seemed to have somehow initially had an extension into Belize.
Yeah, you would recall that there was an announcement that had been made a while back where a scholarship opportunity would have been afforded to a Belizean student who is eligible to pursue further studies in the United States. In this case, it would have been at Howard University, which is Diddy's alma mater. And it's also one of the members of the HBCU, or the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, right? And so the announcement was, at the time, a proud moment. I mean, they're making this opportunity available to someone who is interested in pursuing further studies abroad, and the prestige that came with the whole Diddy connection and everything. And you would also recall, that moment at the BET Awards where Shine and Diddy were on the stage and the Belizean flag came down. It was all in that spirit, right? And now, Diddy being disgraced for all the allegations that have been brought against him, on Friday, Howard University issued a statement completely denouncing and drawing distance from Diddy in light of the video where he was beating Cassie to a pulp that was caught on video, right? So if we were, prior to the release of the video or just around that time, questioning the fate of this scholarship, well, the fact that Howard University has completely distanced itself from him, then it's safe to say at this point that there won't be any scholarship made available, at least not through Diddy and his organizations to any Belizean. But beyond that, all right, is the fact that Diddy has also been stripped of any honorary award or acknowledgement that has been given to him by Howard University.
What was the honorary degree that he received from Howard?
I can't quite say, so I won't venture in that direction.
Okay.
Suffice to say that he was given the highest honor, which was an honorary doctorate. I can't tell you in what area specifically, but he was conferred with that title, which has since been stripped from him in light of all these developments.
You know, it's one of those things that I find interesting because initially when the scholarship was announced, I have Belizean friends that saw it with excitement as an opportunity for one of us, not me specifically, but one among Belizean students deserving receiving such an honorary opportunity. You mean you're going to Howard? It also brought in major political points for the opposition leader as well, for him to be making that announcement and say, hey, I've brokered somewhat of a deal with my colleague Diddy to send a Belizean student to Howard. Perhaps it would have been one of the first. I'm not sure, you have to fact check me on that, but it definitely brought some level of excitement among Belizean students.
Even if it was not the first, it's the prestige that came with the whole thing, right? Wow, it's through Shine and Diddy and that whole music mogul entertainment thing, you know, making those opportunities available for Belizeans. So there was a lot of, you know, bells and whistles around the whole thing. Well, now we know what happened.
Right, it took some time to come to fruition to the point that it didn't even pan out the way it should have. And one would think that that's for the better, because you could imagine the university cutting ties with Diddy in the middle of a student's academic pursuit at Howard. That would have definitely been a huge challenge there and something for them to figure out.
Someone would have had to, you know, take on a shortfall of those tuitions.
Perhaps the leader of the opposition himself would have had to do that. So that's definitely an interesting Diddy development.
But that's on the international scene, though. On the local front, there's been quite some development in the world of sports. We don't want to foreshadow or preempt any of our conversations later on in the show, but you were in Belmopan on Friday night. You attended a football game where, how do we say, were we destroyed, were we routed, were we trounced, were we pummeled, were we beaten to a pulp? 4-0. But before we go into all of those descriptives, right? The controversy happened when 3 players, as far as I'm aware, chose to sit out the game when they properly belonged on the field, being a part of this this World Cup qualifier match. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting again, Isani. My colleague George Tillett and I, we went to the game on Saturday night, as we do on weekends, covering different sporting activities. And this was one of those games where CONCACAF and another media house does their exclusive coverage. And so this was one of those rare occasions where we actually got to sit through the game and then wait for the press conference, which is after the game. And you begin to notice during the game when Belize down by 1, down by 2, that there's something off on the field. And then you begin to look for key players like Michael Salazar, Nemhard. These are key strategic Belizean players. Like they are on the field in striker positions to make goals. And so you look for them when we're not executing the goals that we're supposed to be making, and then you're like, where are they, where are they? And so people on the bleachers, fans began to ask questions. A couple of those questions was asked to me, and I was like, I have no clue what's happening right now. So after the game, well, right before the game was finished, we were setting up for the press conference, and I began to approach people to inquire what was happening. And The only word I received was that there was some internal issues, and FFB representatives were a bit reluctant to go in depth with what had transpired, just that there were internal issues. But from my understanding, these guys were still there. They were there watching on. And it wasn't until an hour and a half after the game that FFB issued a release. That's on Saturday night. So they didn't take long to issue a release. Perhaps they were typing as the game was going. The third goal, they're like, all right, third paragraph, fourth goal, fourth paragraph. I'm just getting into the nitty-gritty of the situation. So within an hour and a half of the game finishing, FFB issued their release saying that these disciplinary action will be taken against these 3 players because basically they backed out last minute, citing certain grievances or discontent with certain issues, the way they were being treated, etc., etc. But for the FFB, FFB's position is, hey, you're doing this last minute. We've invested in your lodging, we've invested in your meals, we've invested in training, we've invested in so much for you to then back out last minute. They're saying it severely impacted the outcome of the game. In fact, it impacted Belize's performance, and it disappointed fans because fans went there for a show, and these 3 players weren't able to put on that show because they decided to back out of the game.
So I have a couple questions that are pertinent to what you've raised in terms of what took place there, right? My first question is whether or not there's some form of a grievance mechanism for players who, for whatever reason, feel, you know, as if though they're either being mistreated or what have you. Is there some avenue that can be pursued to lodge these complaints, right? Either before or after the match, or as it were, you know, getting the matter resolved one or the other. That's one. Secondly, is there any clause or any contractual arrangement where it prohibits a player from pulling this kind of a stunt? In this case, backing out of a scheduled match at the last minute. You know, so I'm not privy to the mechanics of what takes place within the football world where that is concerned, but those are my primary 2 questions, because at the end of the day, when you look at other professional arrangements, if you look at what takes place in the NBA, the MLB, NFL, these athletes are under strict contract that tell you you can't do this, that, or the third as long as you're under contract with the team itself, right? So that to me is the first thing. How do we now allow these guys who ought to have been suited up and on the field actually sitting in the bleachers watching the very game that they're supposed to be participating in? And
then watching their team lose.
Yeah, and so from a strictly layman's perspective, this is just me perhaps just speaking as a regular Belizean. It's unpatriotic. If we're playing an international match against another team that would, for all intents and purposes, qualify us to move up to another level of football play leading up to the World Cup, it's unpatriotic, it's unnationalistic, it's everything that's anti-Belizean. The reason I'm saying that, Paul, I guess in military military expression where we say, okay, you comply and then you complain, right? So even if there wasn't the immediate grievance mechanism that you would have been able to pursue in the first instance, get on the field, do your best, and then you could launch your complaints and everything afterwards, win, lose, or draw. You would have already done or fulfilled your part of the obligation.
So we saw the players issue a press release. So it was a joint press release issued by the players the following day, basically saying that in light of the disciplinary action that will be taken against them, they then have to make a public statement as well. And their statement basically said that, cited some sort of inhumane treatment, basically saying that they weren't being treated at a standard that one would expect these athletes should be treated at. And while they didn't get into the details because of the pending disciplinary hearing that is against them, they for one definitely believe that they were justified in their action. So they're saying there that they're providing some insight on several occasions over the years. There's been unprofessional communication. They're speaking of a lack of organization, poor conditions and accommodation. So for them, there's justification there. And the question, I think, this is me assuming, they're asking is, if it's not now, then when? And while it may be unpatriotic and it may be un-Belizean, there's a level of it that is characteristic of Belizeans in the manner in which we approach and respond to conflict, in terms of, all right, I have to take a stand. I have to do something, and what better time to take a stand than when all eyes are on us, than when we can actually have a voice, or our voice can be projected even loud, because if we lose, they'll ask why we're there.
So my question, and I respect everything that you're saying, my question is, why hold a critical game like this hostage?
Yeah, that's basically
as opposed
the
to, that's essentially what they did, right? No, whether or not their performance, because they could have still gotten on the field and chose not to do anything that would have advanced any movement towards scoring a goal. That could have happened too. A lot of times we do have forms of passive resistance, right? So maybe that could have been an avenue, but to sit out the game altogether, you know, it's essentially holding the game or the other remaining teammates at hostage, at ransom, right? So my question in all of this is, now, does this affect any kind of meaningful change going forward?
That's a good question.
Right? So if we've taken a stand, does this now bring us to the table where we're saying, okay, FFB, you need to address all of these concerns? Or is it a situation where the FFB now will levy all these sanctions and seek to suspend the players?
It seems as if that's the case. They're just going to get themselves in trouble, and we're going to move on unless other players decide to get up. Anyways,
my bottom line though, if you allow me, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's my bottom line.
To wrap up the conversation, this is the first of 4 games that the Belize national football team will play in the FIFA's World Cup qualifiers. They play 2 games a year. So it's only 2 games a year in the World Cup qualifiers for each country. They played Nicaragua on Saturday night. They traveled yesterday to play Guyana in Barbados this coming weekend. And then next year, I believe they'll play 2 more games in preparation for the World Cup. So I'm not sure if these 3 players traveled with them to Barbados in playing for Guyana, but just know that according to the FIFA rankings, Belize sits at the 182nd position.
Wow.
So yeah, we're up there. No in our good way either.
Actually, it's the other way. We're down there.
We're down there. Yeah, so that's, but it's only 2 interesting and insightful conversations for what's buzzing. But excuse me. But we're going to jump straight into our Eye on the News for this wonderful Monday morning.
So yesterday, all eyes were on the Toledo East constituency ahead of a by-election that is yet to be called. The People's United Party had 3 prospective candidates who were vying for the standard bearer's position to face the UDP's Dennis Williams in an upcoming by-election to determine who the area representative will be for that electoral division in the wake of the late Mike Espat, right? Nonetheless, we had Nicanor Rekene as one of the candidates. We had Melhem Espat, who is the son of the former area representative. And we have Dr. Osmond Martinez, who is the CEO for the Ministry of Economic Development. And so you had at least 2 locations where voters within this constituency were able to cast their ballot in favor of their candidate of choice, right? And throughout the course of the day, we were being provided with updates in terms of the flow of voters through these particular polling stations, if I can describe them as such, right? And the People's United Party had quite a showing in terms of being able to mobilize voters from various communities within the constituency itself. In Punta Gorda town, and I also believe in Bella Vista village, right? Bella Vista being one of the largest communities in southern Belize. And at the end of it all, Dr. Martinez emerged victorious. I was being told early on that it was by a landslide in terms of his performance at the polls over the other two candidates who contested the position for PUP standard bearer. We have an interview that was conducted with the chairman of the People's United Party who announced the official results, and secondly with Dr. Martinez having, as I mentioned, emerged victorious at the end of the convention. So what I want to do at this point is go to the interview. It's an extensive one that sort of encapsulates everything that transpired yesterday. When we come back from that, we can add some commentary.
Yeah.
So now let me read the official results as given to me by the returning officer today. As I said before, this is a historic convention. I say that because we had 3,124 voters coming out here on behalf of the People's United Party. Receiving 479 votes, Mr. Nicanor Requena. And a round of applause, please, for Mr. Requena. Receiving 1,281 votes, Mr. Melhem Espat. And a round of applause, please, for Mr. Melhem Espat. And receiving 1,762 votes, Dr. Osmond Martinez, the new standard bearer for the People's United Party, and the standard bearer that is going towards victory in the by-election next month. Congratulations, Dr. Osmond Martinez.
Thank you.
A well-deserved victory.
Thank you, sir.
We are now going to swear in our new candidate with the oath of allegiance.
And to Mr. Nicanor Requena, they were not my opponents, they are my colleagues. And we need to bring them together. We have to work together. They did such a good campaign and they were hungry for it as well. We all work together, we work hard. We were never tired. But one thing I can say, we are one party and we must come together. We are part, I am blessed to be part of the greatest political party that Belize have ever seen, the People's United Party. So as of tonight, we have to start to work for the by-elections. There is no time to rest. Hard work pays off, and we must work hard. So let's get ready. Let's start to work, and let's be united. PUP! Punta Gorda! I want to thank each and every one of you who have worked very hard on this campaign. It hasn't been an easy one. And I want to say that I won't call names, because if I call names, I might get in trouble. But every single person that have worked with me, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I take this time as well to say thank you to my family. I have practically been away from them for the last 3 weeks. And so I want to say thank you to them, because it has been hard, but without their support, I wouldn't have been able to make it. I know my son and my daughter and my wife, they miss me a lot. But thank you. So let us work together, let us start to unite, and let us win the by-election, because we are here to win. Thank you again.
All right, so that was the announcement of the winner, and of course, a few words from Dr. Martinez in the wake of his victory. As with everything else, I always have questions to ask with respect of any political campaign and any political outcome. In this particular case, my question is, what happens now that Dr. Martinez has been elected the standard bearer, and he is preparing himself to face Dennis Williams in a pending by-election, does he relinquish his post as CEO of the Ministry of Economic Development?
My understanding is he has already resigned.
He has already resigned.
Yes,
okay.
that was coming from his minister last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. Because it's the proper thing to do.
It is, correct.
If you're investing all your energies now on a political campaign to further your ambition.
Yes.
Understood. So that is one aspect of it, right? I think one of the other observations, and I'm not criticizing as much as I'm saying, when we're offering ourselves for any kind of public office, right? Be it at the constituency level, be it local government, or even village council, if that were the case. When we offer ourselves for any public office, there has to be some sort of, how do I want to describe this? You have to be open to the media, right? You have to be able to develop some kind of a relationship with the media, because as part of the estate, our mandate, our charter is to provide the information to the very public who will cast a vote in your favor one way or the other or against you, right? I say all of that to say this. We made several attempts to get an interview with Mr. Espat, who at every turn managed to either avoid us or ignore us altogether.
And it's not only yesterday.
Prior to yesterday, but on the ground yesterday, I'm aware of several attempts being made to get Mr. Espat to at least share some words. How is the campaign going? What are your thoughts on the process? Or, you know, should you win, what should Toledo East constituents expect from you as the standard bearer? None of that, right? Now, I'm not sure if he may have offered words to another media house, but as far as I am concerned and as far as I'm aware, that wasn't the case for us. Right? And I'm simply saying, look, you need to be sociable. If this is what you want to aspire to as a politician with certain political dreams or what have you, you have to make yourself available to people one way or the other. And that's just an observation from my end. I'm not criticizing and saying that better should have been done where that is concerned. Not my place. I'm simply saying, look, a politician has to be a people's person. I think that's one of the qualities that we look forward to in terms of those elected officials.
Yeah, I'm looking also at the glory story here, per se, from CEO to era representative, pupil era.
Well, the story goes beyond that, right? From perhaps his humble beginnings. And we're talking about Dr. Martinez,
correct.
right?
Yes.
His humble beginnings, his path through education and academia, and becoming a CEO, and now looking at a higher office if he's elected as area rep.
Yeah, and so that for me is one of the stories here.
Yeah.
How he has evolved as an individual, how he has evolved as a political figure, and by all accounts, Dr. Martinez is described as humble, as a low-key, per se type of person, hard-working, somebody who gets the job done. As CEO, my interactions with him seemed to be such. Now one would imagine that when he presented himself to the people of Toledo East, that perhaps they gathered similar traits from him, because the results at the polls showed that he defeated his opponents, who he says are his colleagues, by a landslide. We're talking him receiving 1,700 plus votes, while Mr. Espat receiving 1,200 thereabout, and then you had Mr. Rikenya, who was all the way down to like some 500 votes. So 500 votes more for Dr. Martinez speaks volumes to what to his influence in the Toledo East community of recent.
So to add to what you're saying, and at the beginning of this conversation, I was also saying I always have more questions than answers, right? In the wake of the death of former Minister of State Espat, as far as we know, there's a 90-day window within which a by-election, and this is by law, this is enshrined in the Constitution somewhere, that vacancy has to be filled within 90 days by way of a by-election, right? We haven't heard anything as yet in terms of the actual date.
Yeah.
And I feel as if though perhaps the masses of us Belizeans may have been a bit disappointed when the Prime Minister was asked, okay, so when is the date? And his
said,
response was,
that's for me to decide.
which by law, the clock starts ticking at a certain point. So
Yeah,
it's
give
not,
us an
it's
idea.
not for him to say, okay, well, we'll have it at the last minute on a hairpin trigger. It's to say, look, the clock starts running on this particular date, expect that it will be called by now or within a specific time frame.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a matter of a suspense or a great surprise.
Yeah, I wholly expect that a date will be announced this week.
Yeah.
Perhaps he was waiting for this convention to finish. I don't know why, because the results of this convention doesn't necessarily change anything when it comes to the date or a by-election being held. But I wholly expect that by this week we'll know, and if it's not this week, then you're running too close to the time doing it any other time. So I think this week we should expect something like that.
All right, so I'll segue to another conversation regarding the Belize Police Department.
Yeah.
Quite a lot has happened over the past 3 days, right? On Friday, we had a story in our newscast where a former police sergeant had been convicted of raping his stepdaughter, a 7-year-old little girl. So that was Friday. On Friday night, there was an incident here in Belize City near 88 Shopping Center at the corners of Niels Penn Road and Central American Boulevard, where it took 3 officers in an attempt to subdue one individual who was clearly furious and set on inflicting serious damage to another person he was in a physical conflict with. And I think when I saw this video, and I'm looking at this from multiple angles, this leaves a hell of a lot to be desired in terms of police officers being able to arrest a situation. Because for this one individual to inflict a stab wound and then continue to kick the person in his head, and neither of the 3 officers are able to properly subdue him. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, when you deal with people that are enraged and somebody of his size, I think you could go into the situation underestimating the strength of this individual as well as the level of rage and the actual force that you will need to use. But at the same time, too, the question is, what sort of force should the officers have used? Because then there's situations where excess force is used and these officers are heavily criticized for using excess force. A chokehold in this situation, a gun butt in this situation, pull out your baton and hit the man in the head back, because clearly his intent is was like a pit bull. You ever seen a pit bull focus on his prey per se? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, that's for the police department to explain to us today. And I'm hoping that they will come forward in their weekly press brief to explain thoroughly how this should have been handled, other than what we've seen here. Right? So this was Friday night on Central American Boulevard. Now, apparently, the same Friday night, a woman was being held in detention at the Queen Street police station, where she's alleging that she was raped by an officer who, as we see there, the police department has issued a statement against one Derwin Marin, who's accused of having committed this act while the woman was in a holding cell. So he attempted to, and this is what the press release is saying, and I'm only paraphrasing, he allegedly attempted to trade sexual favors with her so that she is released without charge, right? I don't know, I'm still scratching my head on this one, you know. I'm still scratching my head on this one.
This is the first time we've heard something like this coming out of the police department.
I'm not
of
quite
this
certain.
nature?
That's an interesting question. I won't go on the record to say yes or no, but I'm simply saying that in the grand scheme of the picture that I just painted, right? The 66-year-old former police sergeant being convicted of the rape of a minor. This incident on Niels Penn Road and Central American Boulevard, and the same night an allegation against an officer at another precinct where there's sexual misconduct, to say the very least. They have a lot to answer to us today, and I'm hoping that the Commissioner of Police, maybe not for the former officer, but in terms of the incident, the two incidents, that we'll be able to hear from him directly as to, you know, what took place and what could have been done perhaps to steer the matter in a different direction if that were the case.
Yeah, there's a lot to be answered, especially with that situation at the holding cell. I appreciate the fact that swift action has been taken against the officer, and that the department was swift in issuing a release and a statement.
And there are two investigations underway as well.
Right, and there's two investigations. And also the fact that the department, from the onset, as it seemed, believed the victim who made such an allegation over perhaps the police officer's account. So those are some things I appreciate about what happened there. But definitely a lot of questions to be answered, and we'll be hoping to get some of those answers today.
So that does it for this morning's Eye on the News. All right, so now we'll go into our daily eye opener, and it's taken from dailyarm.com. It reads as follows: when we view life from a place of lack, that's how we'll experience it. Shift into gratitude and watch your world change. We all know what it feels like to want something we don't have. This is part of life, and in the best case scenario, we experience a constant flow of money and material possessions, companions and experiences in and out of our lives. However, many of us linger in a state of wanting and not having a state of lack that never seems to subside. We consistently perceive ourselves as not having what we need or not having what we want. This is an energetically draining state to be in. It is also self-perpetuating because of how we feel about ourselves, which determines what we're able to create for ourselves. How we feel profoundly influences how we perceive our reality. When we feel we are lacking, we look around and see what is not there. On the other hand, if we feel abundant, we can look at the very same situation and see a completely different picture, one full of blessings and advantages. The more we see the blessings, the more abundant we feel, and the more blessings we attract. Similarly, if we see lack, we tend to create and attract that energy. Know that it is your birthright to be fully supported in the fulfillment of your needs and desires.
It's a straightforward example of your cup half full or half empty.
You read my mind, brother. You absolutely read my mind.
It's exactly one of those examples, but wonderful eye-opener, Sani.
Yes.
Thank you for reading that this morning. I believe we have our weather update for this morning, which comes directly from the National Met Service, and we're going to play that for you right about now. This is our weather update for today.
Good morning, Belize. Moist and unstable conditions linger over the region. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for sunny skies with cloudy spells, and high temperatures today are expected to reach 88 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 96 inland and 82 over the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy to cloudy with low temperatures of 83 along the coast, 74 over inland areas, and 68 in the higher elevations. Shower activity will be generally isolated during the morning hours. Expect a few outbreaks of showers and thunderstorms to affect inland and southern areas during the afternoon and night. The winds will blow from the east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and the sea state will be light sharp. A low tide will occur at 5:56 a.m. followed by a high at 8 minutes past midday. Another low occurs at 7:53 p.m. and a high at 1:57 a.m. The sun rose at 5:17 a.m. and will set at 6:27 today. The moon comes up at 9:02 this morning and set at 10:22 tonight. In the fire risk, the risk for forest and brush fire will be low today. In the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. And the outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for similar weather conditions to prevail. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
That was your weather forecast for what seems like the remainder of the week, and it appears as if the National Met Service is forecasting some showers and thunderstorms scattered throughout this week, including today. But the humidity remains high, so stay hydrated, but also be prepared with those umbrellas or raincoats wherever you are across the country. It's time we have to get into our segments for this morning, and of course we're going to start off today's show with a discussion on World Day Against Child Labor. That's our first segment.
Our second segment is all about sports. Once again, we'll be talking about structuring Belizeans athletes for success.
All right, and so with that, we're going to take a first break, and when we get back, we're going to jump into the conversation on World Day Against Child Labor. Stay tuned.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize!
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
My name is Waluko Mejia. I'm the General Manager at Copal Tree Lodge here in Toledo, Belize. The Belize Bank service we appreciate most is the Belize Bank ATM and the use of its debit card. It makes it very accessible for our employees here at Copal Tree Lodge. Essentially, they could access the ATM on their way home after work, and also that the local stores accept the use of a debit card.
In the last 2 decades, Central TV and Internet, through our brand NextGen, has become the leading broadband and entertainment provider across Belize. We're here to build confidence, and our footprint speaks volumes. From urban hubs to remote corners, we've got you covered. We are not just for big corporations, we're for everyone. NextGen serves the needs of large enterprises and everyday consumers alike. Our backbone? Superior service, lightning-fast internet, cable, and our user-friendly TV streaming services. With our extended customer support hours, we ensure that your needs are taken care of, because your convenience matters. As the most reliable customer service provider in the country, our team is ready to help you at the speed of now. For larger companies that depend on rock-solid service, we've got tailored corporate solutions to keep your business running smoothly. We offer the highest residential internet speeds at a blazing 300 megabytes per second, the fastest in Belize. Our Wi-Fi mesh system ensures that your internet connection reaches every corner of your home or office space. As a NextGen Bundle customer, you can enjoy the ultimate home entertainment experience. With unlimited streaming through apps like HBO Max and NextGen TV paired with your high-speed internet plan. Connecting Belize from city to coast, your connection, your choice. Join the NextGen revolution today.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
This is our first conversation for this morning. Thank you for staying tuned in. As we mentioned, this conversation is all about World Day Against Child Labor. And joining us on set, we have Ms. Alani Mendez, who is a Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at NCFC, as well as Ms. Ida Reyes, it's Alani Mendez, Ida Reyes, who is a Senior Labor Officer at the Labor Department, as well as Mr. Ion Cacho, who is the NTUCB rep on the Child Labor Committee. Wonderful. So good morning to all three of our lovely guests.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
It's great to have you all on set. All right, so where do we begin this conversation? Let's start by talking a bit about the committee and the purpose behind establishing such a committee. Who you want to take on that conversation?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for having us here. Good morning, viewers and listeners. Today we are here to observe World Day Against Child Labor. And the International Labor Organization observed World Day Against Child Labor since 2002. And the purpose is to focus attention on the global issue of child labor around the world. So, yes, the Labor Department has the National Child Labor Committee, which is composed of different stakeholders, like, for example, the National Commission for Families and Children, National Trade Union Congress of Belize, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Human Development, Immigration. We have NGOs as well, which is the Child Foundation in Development, and a few to mention. But we are here to observe World Day Against Child Labor, and all of us are making that effort to combat child labor here in Belize. For example, the National Child Labor Committee advised the minister on child labor issues that we have here, and we make recommendations how to eradicate child labor.
Can we step back for just a bit and get a proper understanding of what child labor is and what it constitutes?
Okay, child labor is work that is harmful to children. It deprives them from their childhood. it deprives them from their potential and dignity, and it's work that also affects their physical and or mental development.
Wow. So what are some examples of child labor?
For example, it would be hazardous work, that children who are out there working in construction, children who are there working under waters in a confinement space, that is child labor. That will harm their physical and mental. They could have an effect on that. So that's why right now we are observing World Day Against Child Labor, because we want to eradicate those type of harmful work that children, because the right of children is to attend school, to play, and to enjoy their childhood.
Okay, but fair enough, and I get all of that and I understand it. There are certain traditional practices in this country, nonetheless, where if you look at the agriculture industry, for instance, we have parents who, for whatever reason, decide that, okay, you're not doing good in school, come out and help me in the cane field or in the orange orchard or in any other form of agriculture. Does a scenario like that constitute what child labor would be?
Yes, it would fall under child labor. It's regardless of culture. Sometimes we need to move away from culture and understand the importance of change. And change plays a huge role in something like child labor, because we oftentimes get hung up on culture and then we fail to realize the rights and the responsibilities we owe to children, right? Children have the right to their childhood. And if we continue to exploit them, to send them to the sugar fields or to send them to put those heavy backpacks on them, having them spray dangerous chemicals, that's affecting their ability to grow, that's affecting their ability for a healthy lifestyle. And so it's important to, even though it's a part of the culture, we need to evolve, and we need to step back, we need to realign our responsibilities that we have for these children, and then we need to move forward from there. So it's important to separate the two. I mean, like we know so many people back in the days, and we used to say, you know, send them at the field, or send them, and they get strong and they get big, and you know. But then you fail to realize that you need that child then no longer had a childhood. That individual didn't have a childhood, and it's important for our self-development to have childhood.
Interesting. Let's talk a bit about some of the legislative measures in place towards the eradication of child labor.
Yes. So basically what happened, the Labor Department, and under the guise of the National Child Labor Committee, we formulated, you know, with help from a lot of agencies, the National Child Labor Policy, right? And in that policy, you know, we have what you consider light work and hazardous work, right? Because in my days, going to school, I had a job. I work in a store. You know, I serve, you know, to make my ends.
As a child.
Yeah, right? So while I was going to high school, I had that in the evening, but I was still focused on school. So you would consider that, like, because, you know, in Belize, a lot of persons own shops. So, you know, that's a part of the tradition. You go and help out in the shop, you know, later in the evening. And so, you know, but when it came to like heavier stuff like cleaning a yard with a machete and all of that type of stuff, you know, they would consider that hazardous work, right? Because, you know, children can injure themselves, right? And we got this policy in place. It's free, it's online, and you could contact the labor department, and you could read through the whole. It's kind of an education to employers, you know, of what's acceptable and what's not really acceptable in society. Like I said, we want to streamline everything, you know, for the whole country, and probably the policy is up to 2025, so they'll have to go and evaluate what worked and, you know, what we need to improve on, you know.
Yeah, and to add what Mr. Katri is saying, yes, we have the National Child Labor Policy, and that entails on hazardous work and in light work. We are saying children can do certain type of work. We are not saying that they cannot work. They could only work and do light work.
Yeah.
And that specify what type of work. For example, young persons could assist in females helping at home, washing dishes, cleaning their rooms. They could work in shops, male and female, because the age of employment here in Belize is 14. So they could work and do light work.
Right.
Hazardous work, it have to be after 18 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
So-
you could have children that refuse to work in the home any at all and says, Mommy, Daddy, I've heard about child labor, right? And
they would be well within their rights.
they would be well within their rights. So it is important to define exactly what child labor is and what it entails. Who does the committee rely on, or who should we rely on to make these reports when individuals sees that there's an act of child labor taking place? One would imagine that in communities where it may be a culture, there's a lot of turning a blind eye to a situation of sorts.
Well, like we have the National Child Labor Committee, like I mentioned, that they make recommendations to the Minister of Labor. Also, I would say that now the Labor Department is making efforts to eradicate child labor, and they have created a desk for the Child Labor Secretary and Inspectorate desk, and that is the person who monitors, coordinate, and report any child labor issues in the country, and should make recommendation to the Minister of Labor, so to see what we can do to minimize the child labor in the country.
And if I can add as well, I think it's important to understand the theme as well. The theme is, let's act on our commitment and child labor, right? And so it's important to understand just that phrasing there. Let's act on our commitment, not just the Labor Department, but it's everyone's work. It's NCFC's work, it's Labor Department's work, it's the police work, it's everyone's work. But then it doesn't just stop there. We need to look into our homes as well. We need to be our neighbor's keeper, and we need to say, okay, something is happening there, because we as organizations, we don't have the resources to be monitoring each cane field or each citrus field. So it's left up to the onus is on the individuals to actually say, all right, I need to do something to make the world, to make Belize a better place for children. The Belize a better place to raise a child.
Has there been perhaps a concerted or a collective effort to raise awareness where child labor is concerned? Is this an ongoing campaign where you're putting information out there for prospective employers and of course even parents to understand the parameters within which children could work or can't work?
So we have been fortunate to partner with the Labor Department, and last year, ending of last year, we did a tour of many of the districts. We weren't able to attend all of the different events. However, together we combined our efforts and we went up north, we went to Belize City, San Ignacio, everywhere to raise awareness in schools. And I believe it was over like 5,000 students that received the information with regards to child labor.
What does the data show, if we can talk a bit about the data and what it shows in terms of what areas in Belize is child labor most prevalent, and perhaps in what sort of sectors do we see child labor most prevalent? And I don't know if there's a cultural aspect to the data as well that we can speak about.
The global issue of child labor is mostly in the agriculture sector, and the high rate is for males, young persons. So that is right now and worldwide, and that's why it is the World Day Against Child Labor is observed on every year on the month of June.
Why?
Why? To combat any issues that we have here, and then also that we need to inform people that yes, there is child labor out there. Sometimes we will say that it's not child labor, but it is considered child labor because one, it is affecting the child's development, that is child labor. And that's why it's observed, because we have to pause and reflect where we stand today to eradicate child labor. Also, it's a serves as a reminder that we should protect each child in their development. So that is why it is celebrated. And like Mr. Mendez mentioned, that yes, the theme for today is let us act on our commitments to end child labor. And also the government is making effort in collaboration with various stakeholders, and child labor is not only Labor Department issue, it's all stakeholders issue, even the public sector there and parents. And yes, we are conducting right now for the World Day Against Child Labor. The Labor Department is having our outreach throughout the country. So each labor officer will visit a media and host, and they will wait and make awareness of the issue of child labor. Because many times some people don't know the definition of child labor.
Yeah.
And like you said, some children will say, oh, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
No, there are things that they can do, because we have to teach them also responsibility to them, not just say, oh, then you can't do anything. And also we are doing a child labor education countrywide. Labor officer, employment officers will go at either a school or a business to provide that education session to the business people or schools. Because yes, last year we had that child labor campaign, and it was promoted, funded by ILO, and we had about 19 schools, and yes, we are informing the public, parents, teachers, and also farmers are out there, and we are promoting child labor.
Here's an observation, and perhaps it's a bit of a concern on my end, where when we look at the rate of dropouts for boys through our education system, and the fact that for whatever reason they say, okay, I will not go beyond first or second form, but they're out here looking for work, because in some of the remote or rural areas, that's the next step. When you refuse to or choose not to go to school, you start looking for something to do that's going to earn some income. Do you find that it's perhaps more prevalent in the rural areas than it is in some of the more urban areas, cities and towns?
Well, with regards to that, I can't really speak and tell you exactly where it is, because I don't recall exactly where it is. But from my understanding, I do believe it's more prevalent in the rural areas than it is. I think because of the agricultural sector, they tend to be in those areas. And the issue is that they're utilizing equipment like machetes that are very sharp and dangerous, and so they are exposed to hazardous work in that manner now. Whereas in the urban areas, I believe you are exposed to not so much hazardous equipment, and so it is a way of I guess in some weird way you can say that because they don't have the access to it in the urban areas, it's probably less likely in the urban.
So here's a bit of an uncomfortable conversation then. Paul and I are sitting here as hosts of the morning show, but we also double as reporters working in the media, and we've covered stories where in some of the rural communities, in some of the Mennonite communities, for instance, where children have lost their lives dealing with heavy equipment, right? And so while we've covered those stories, I think the primary question we all ask ourselves is, well, what was a child doing driving a tractor or you know, feeding wood into a wood chipper or something like that? It's difficult for us to understand, perhaps because we grew up in an urban environment where school is everything, or our parents have a handle on where we are at certain phases of our development. But in those communities, I wouldn't say anything goes, but it's their way of life. If they see agriculture as an alternative to education or academics, then how do we say don't do that, especially if it's inculcated in their cultural or their traditional experiences?
I think there's this phrase that goes, culture is the enemy of change. And so it becomes a battle against culture. And then you have those that rebel against that change in the sense that, why are you trying to change my culture?
Yeah.
So the battle needs to rage on in order for those to see the light that you're putting your child in harm's way. And your child has rights, regardless of you're the one paying the bills, or your child has rights. Your child has the right to play. Your child has the right to a childhood. Your child has the right to be safe from harm. So by doing that, you are breaking the law essentially, because you are putting your child in danger. And so I think one of the most important parts is developing something, a mechanism, placing a mechanism in place that allows us to monitor these issues better and to have a better response to them. And I think that is where our collaborative efforts come into play, because it's not just working in silos anymore. It's everyone coming to the table and these are my resources. This is what I have to offer, and designing a mechanism based on those resources that we have at our disposal.
How satisfied is the committee with the level of law enforcement action against perpetuators of child labor, whether it's a parent, a guardian, etc.? We, on a daily basis, report on certain criminal or court cases, but rarely do you hear that this individual or that individual has been charged for putting a child in harm's way through some sort of labor. Is it because it's a family court matter? How satisfied are you with the level of law enforcement action that is being taken? Because one would imagine that also sends a statement that we have zero tolerance for this level of harm that children are being placed in. Anybody want to take that on? You're all a part of the committee, right?
But I think that job falls more on the labor department.
Yes.
Okay, and sincerely, we are not satisfied as the committee. We are not satisfied with the legislation regards to child labor. The minimal, the penalty for an employer to be charged having young persons working is very minimal, $25.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know that was last from previous years. So
$25 if you're caught.
If you're caught. So imagine, but
it's not even a slap on the wrist.
No, it's like
but sincerely, currently the labor department is doing a review, a comprehensive review under the Labor Act, and that is related to child labor, and we are looking on the penalties to increase the penalties, because sincerely $25 is not.
Do you think that emboldens these employers who put children in harm's way?
Yes, that is one of the that we want to.
I think it is a part of it, and so strengthening legislation, developing policy, developing different strategies towards ending child labor is important. And I think, again, I think it's important to emphasize that together we can achieve our commitments and we can protect our children, and we will work towards that. And I think it's important to understand that also I've worked personally hand in hand with the Labor Department, and I can tell you that the people at the Labor Department seem so committed. Like they are so committed to the task at hand, and so working with them becomes not even work. It's like okay, we all understand what we need to do. No one is fighting against each other. We all see the objective, and so it's important. That is also important in eliminating something like child labor, working together and working with a sense of synergy that is, and you're not bumping heads, you know. Yeah. So I think that is also important for us.
All right, I want to throw a question to you, Mr. Karcher, in terms of where the NTUCB comes into play here? I know it's a matter of trade if you're discussing work and what have you, but how does NTUCB fit into this particular picture?
The trade union is always a part of the tripartite system in Belize. So there's always labor, and unionism is always a part of the whole labor movement. So of course you want to have a proper labor force, so you don't want child labor to be a part of that. So the labor, although we want union members, we also are looking out for the greater labor population and future persons who will be employed in the labor department. So, the NTUC will always be a part of the labor movement. So we find it critical to be part of the conversation because we can contribute to that because we have kids as well.
Yeah.
So, it's like Leanne said, it's a total, we all have to play a part in this. So labor is not just for me and you, it's for every single citizen in this country. So it is very important we look at child labor very seriously and try to nip it where we can. So the evaluations and the upgrades we need to make is very critical coming the next year. So we will have to take a step back and see where we are, Belize as a country when it comes to the issue of child labor.
Wonderful. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get some closing statements from each one of you, starting with Ms. Reyes.
Okay. I just want to say that we as a committee, we are making that effort to reduce child labor, eradicate child labor. And I want to say that the Ministry of Labor is also making that effort, that we have a lot of activities to make awareness on child labor. For example, for this World Day Against Child Labor on the 12th, the minister will have a speech and have keynotes on the implementation of policies and the various stakeholders working together so that we could eradicate child labor. Also, we will have on the 12th in a panel discussion. We will discuss the different in various stakeholders what they are doing to eradicate child labor, and also we will have a presentation on all different what is the definition of child labor, worst form of child labor, and hazardous work as well. So we want to inform the public. It will be online, and we could share the link so that they could listen to this panelists that will be there.
Great.
So we are working hard because we want this country. Last year, we are assessed by the government of the U.S. Department of Labor, and we are moderate advancing. Before we were on the bottom, but every year we are doing better. So, and I also want to say that Belize has signed as a member of the Regional Initiative Latin America and Caribbean Free of Child Labor. So we are doing that effort to eradicate child labor, and that is what I want to say. And let us work together so that we could eradicate child labor.
Brief closing thoughts, Mr. Mendez.
Well, I just want to thank everyone that plays a role in the elimination of child labor. I think it's important to remember that we all play a role in this. And also, don't think that you can't give your children chores, right? You can give them chores.
Yeah.
Just don't make it hazardous chores, right?
Yeah.
But you can give your children chores. So if they tell you, I can't do that, it's child labor, I mean, they can wash the dishes.
Yeah, say
I would just like to say, child labor is very important, and download some of the free material. It's available, you could check with the labor department. Educate yourself to know, your rights as an employer, and a future employer who will be hiring persons and know the different forms of child labor that's available. So I want you all to be a part of the activities. If you don't have the time, be a part of it. June 12th, it will be live streamed, so be a part of the whole thing and get informed about child labor and what Belize is doing.
Wonderful. We want to thank you all for joining us on set and for leading this wonderful conversation.
Thank
you. Thank you for having us.
No problem. And so with that, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, it's all about the Belize Athletic Association and structuring Belize athletics for success. You don't want to miss that conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Office of the Prime Minister invites you to the National MSME Roadshow 2024. Join us for free workshops in marketing using AI, finance, business planning, and customer service. Connect with financial institutions for access to finance opportunities, meet with key government agencies, and showcase your business at the Roadshow Expo in an effort to get more locals to buy Belizean. We will be in Orange Walk Town, June 13th to the 15th, PG, June 27th to the 29th, Corozal, July 11th to the 13th, Benque, July 25th to the 27th, San Pedro, August 15th to the 17th, Key Cocker, August 23rd to the 24th, Belmopan, August 29th to the 31st, Hopkins, September 13th to the 14th, San Ignacio, September 26th to the 28th, Tangriga, October 10th to the 12th, Placencia, October 18th to the 19th, and Belize City, October 24th to the 26th. Sign up today for the National MSME Roadshow. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Beltrade or call us at 880-3737. Sign up today for the National MSME Roadshow. Let's get your business on the road.
My name is Leomar Langzert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offer, there's basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Benny's is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, visit a Benny's near you and get store-wide discounts on selected items such as Milwaukee and Axie Power Tools, Charbroil Barbecue Grills, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much, much more. Make dad happy with popping deals for dad in June, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's, Benny's. Benny's, Benny's.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers Bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And welcome back. For our second and final conversation this morning, we have been joined by the president of the Belize Athletic Association, none other than Kojak Smith. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
And you are here to talk to us about structuring Belize's athletics for success.
Yes.
Now, the first question that I have for you is perhaps to look at where we are in certain disciplines. If we look at young men and women in track and field, basketball, football, what are we looking at from a collective perspective where there should be some form of streamlining, if it were, for these individuals to be able to succeed in their respective disciplines?
See, that's a good question, Isani. One of the things that we've noticed, I mean, I've always been a sports enthusiast as yourself, and coming into track and field and being around sports, you notice that the development at the younger age is not necessarily there. So while there are small camps sometimes or evening programs, that holistic view in terms of identifying kids at a younger age of their natural ability is not necessarily there. So while we do have physical education programs in the school, is it really, and it's not no knock on the teachers or the system, but is it really in a structured way? Or is it just, you just get that teacher that you know been playing sports for a while and have them teaching physical education? So it's trying to start from there, and that is basically what we're trying to do with this workshop. Getting, and it's across disciplines, getting that aspect of trying to develop children from an early age.
Let's talk a bit about the workshop before we get into more of the discussion on the structures and the strategies that needs to be put in place. There's a workshop coming up.
Yes, there's a workshop coming up. We were fortunate enough to engage with some, I guess you would say, some very experienced Jamaican coaches. And you know, Jamaican track and field system is top tier. So it's getting that ability to touch base with them, and they were willing to share of their time and of their effort to come into Belize and structure a workshop that we've been working on and setting up a format in terms of how we'll do the workshop. So we have Mr. Kent Simon, Miss Tamara Williams-Gale, Mr. Neil Harrison, and Mr. Marlon Gill. So the four of them will be coming in, and they have different sessions in the workshop that they will be executing and performing and trying to get people to understand a deeper dive into what it is to structure a program, and that is the end result that we want, to have a complete plan, working in collaboration with those entities. Namely, we're looking at teachers, sports coordinators, physical education teachers, and any aspiring coaches, and that's across disciplines, because we're looking at starting from an early age and having the ability to start identifying kids that may have a natural ability for any sport, whether it be jumping, throwing, or running. So it's just starting from that area, as well as the workshop will touch base on officiating lecture, just officiating in small track field or whatever the case may be, as well as athlete safeguarding, which ironically enough, the guest you had on earlier was talking about child labor, and one of the things that the World Athletics has been pushing for the last couple of years, and we are trying to adopt, is children safeguarding in terms of making sure that, and athletes in general, making sure that there is a positive environment, and it provides and breeds area where athletes can be successful as possible, and not eliminating that negativity that may come and that stigma that may come with it.
Let me ask you a question here in terms of all that is being done to put together a program to create the kind of structures that would allow for young athletes to flourish, against the fact that a lot of the facilities where these young men and women or these kids who are transitioning, a lot of the facilities that they are playing in are below standard. So for instance, we're bringing in a team of experts from Jamaica to help have a discussion on track and field. But when you look at the pitch at the Marion Jones, it leaves a lot to be desired. How do you respond to that?
So, all right, there's two parts to respond to that, Isania. One of the things is that these coaches, actually, the first thing they'll tell you that you don't really need a track to start development at an early age.
Okay.
Most of them used grass. And coming up in track and field, I could remember that we didn't have a track. If you're familiar with track and field in the day, you know of Jahid Smith, who's excellent runner. His origins have been grass track, and he got to that level just from the grass track. No, I'm not saying that we don't need to develop the track to make sure that it's at a standard and whereby we could start hosting events. But for the time being, we could start utilizing what we have in order to develop these athletes. And this is whereby collaboration comes in. We have to get all stakeholders involved to collaborate to get to that level. For instance, the workshop, we've also partnered with Olympic Committee as well as the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education has stepped in terms of providing continual professional development hours, credits, eight credit hours for the workshop. So it further encourages teachers and physical education persons to come out and come to the workshop and participate. So that's the only way how we could get this thing moving, by collaboration and communication. So we've also had the Ministry of Sports, who has been a stalwart supporter in track and field since I've seen since we've come in as the new executive. So we have that support. So it's just to continue building that and building relationships with different business community and stakeholders, because the only way we'll get it done is partnership. The association alone can't do it. It requires everyone.
Anyone who follows sports in Belize would know that, as we're discussing here, there isn't necessarily structures in place that hones skills from a young age and develops those skills going into young adulthood and into adulthood. There oftentimes seems to be a catch at a young age, miss for a certain period, and then you come back in your early teen, late teens, and then you find a discipline. And the fact that we're having a discussion about the Ministry of Education here seems to me that there's a focus on education as an important component in athletic development within Belize. But year after year, we've been seeing that there haven't been much investment from the education side. But when you look at sporting disciplines in other countries, the US, for example, they have structures from a young age all the way up, and these kids go through the system until they go through high school and college, and they become NBA prospects or Olympic, placed on Olympic teams. What will it take for Belize to get there, where we begin to harness these skills from a young age and keep these kids in a structured system within the education sector?
One of the things that, I mean, you touched on several good points, but one of the things that we need to look at is that oftentimes when we look at sports, be it team sports or track and field, we're looking at just having these athletes that already have extreme talent. Let's see how we could get them out. But we're missing the fundamental aspect whereby education has to be a part of it. So now if you're looking at athletes from an early age and trying to see, well, as Asana mentioned earlier, we don't have necessarily facilities and these structures to put in place for these athletes to develop from that raw talent to the next level. We need to also keep reminding them that the grades has to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting any scholarship just based on your athletic ability. For instance, if you want to transition to a American high school, there's a certain amount of CXCs that they ask for, or college, sorry, that they ask for before you even reach here. So this thought of just taking maths or English CXC and you're good, you have to come out of that standpoint and understand the requirements first, that these international entities or countries require that you become a scholarship recipient. So it has to be a joint effort between the sports, education, in order to move this forward. While we're just getting in sort of a dialogue with the Ministry of Education, one of the things that this executive wanted to do is to make sure that we bring on board everyone that is involved in this. Because the only way we'll do it is that everyone comes to the table and try to understand how best we could move forward. Because we're not short of raw talent. One of the things coming up, I've always noticed that Belize, when we go out on these events, especially regionally, and we compete against these other countries at the infant A or infant B level, we are dominating these races and winning. However, it's between that infant and junior level, that is where the gap happens.
Yeah.
So while other countries have been developing their athletes, we have pretty much still been going on just raw talent. So while these same athletes are meeting the same competitors that were there, when they go back at junior level, they're starting to not be as competitive because those athletes have been developed and have been honed in, and the discipline is there and the structure is there. And that is one of the things that we are lacking off. I mean, we do have dedicated coaches like Mr. Evans or Ms. Carr or rest in peace, Mr. Morris. And I probably forget a couple people.
This is within the school system?
No, this is within just track and field.
Okay.
And they're out there every day and dedicating to help these student athletes. But there are certain things that we still need more. I mean, I was an athlete growing up, and one of the things that made me walk away was there was no one really pushing me.
Yeah.
And that is where we also need to get the parents involved. My parents were more focused on school, making sure you got your grades in order, and the sports is just something as a hobby. But we need to understand that the economic boost that sports can build for the country, as well for the individual, as well as changing complete lives of families. So it has to be a balance.
So what, in your view, is the role of the Ministry of Education in developing sports in Belize?
Helping to put these structures in place, making sure that the education system has some kind of structure to support student athletes. Because it's not just about how their grades are, or rather than have raw talent. Have a structure in the primary, tertiary, and secondary level, whereby it's not just you have these competitions and there's not a structure in place to how to develop athletes as they're coming along. So one of the things that this workshop plans to do is to at least start that conversation, starting to put pen on paper and having some kind of strategy in place to start this ball moving. So we're inviting out as much teachers as possible, as much physical education personnel, anyone that are sports enthusiasts, coaches, just come out and support the workshop. It's free of cost. It's 9 to 4.
When?
9 to 4 on this Saturday, June 15th. And you come out and you meet these persons, as well as it's a great networking opportunity for you to discuss with other teachers, as well as these coaches, because they could, while the workshop is structured in one direction, you could also have just little dialogues in between to discuss with these coaches about different tricks of the trade and stuff like that. The workshop will be structured in a way whereby we'll be first discussing about Belize's current state, which is pretty much what you're asking me right now. And then after that, we look at Jamaica's story, past and present. And then we're looking at structuring a strategic plan going forward, and each individual that comes will figure out how they can structure it in terms of their unique environment, be it this school or be it their coaching aspect or something like that. And then we're looking at the officiating and the safeguarding and stuff like that.
What I'm getting from you, Kojak, is the need for there to be a curriculum that goes beyond just physical education at the primary school level, where you have one day of the week, you have one hour PE session, and that's it. We're looking at, or there's a need perhaps, for there to be a complete syllabus that says, okay, you know what? As part of your academic course from primary to secondary to tertiary, if that's the case, if you pursue this route, these are the subjects that you'll take that speak to your academic knowledge of it, speaks to your physical knowledge of it, and it speaks to your ambition if you desire to become an athlete at full-time or at semi-pro, if it's a matter of where we are in terms of the sports disciplines in this country. I think that's where perhaps we need to go. Because a lot of times, and I know some of the teachers are going to criticize me for the following statement, but sometimes PE is like a burden to the teacher to have to be able to get out there and teach you that. It's not something that the teacher is completely invested in and say, okay, you know what? I will be out there with them. They're on the sidelines telling you what to do and what have you. But that does not necessarily speak directly to their active involvement in your progress or your development if that's the case.
No, definitely you're right. One of the things that we would want to see in place, and I mean this is a dream of ours, to have a dedicated physical education teacher for each school.
Yeah.
And that way, you know that that person has a syllabus, as you're saying, a structure, and they will be responsible for teaching these kids physical education. And one of the things that our education system is not necessarily keen on streamlining you to maybe pursue a degree in physical education or physiotherapy and sports management and stuff like that. So those are, I mean, we have to look at what are bring economic value to the world or to the country as well. So it's an area that we can diverge into rather than just the business or the science or the other areas such as law and those other things. We need to look at trying to see how we can utilize other aspects of what people may be interested in. Because these coaches that are here have master's degree in physical education, special education, administration. So there are several different structures you could branch off into once you start to look at sports. Sports is not just about that athlete that is performing. And one of the things that we need to also understand with student athletes, while you may not become a Usain Bolt or a Michael Jordan, you getting that chance to go and do a scholarship at an early age, you are also moving the needle in terms of your economic value.
Yeah.
Because you may not progress in your athletic field, but however, you came back with a bachelor's degree. So you are already ahead of where you would have been without sports. So these are the things that we need to look in place and try to see how we can structure these going forward.
I'm trying to think, okay, so I'll digress for a second here, but it's still within the topic of sports and what have you. I think along with physical education, along with academic learning, right? There should perhaps also be some financial literacy that comes along with it, especially because a lot of times people look at sports and they look at sports as the end-all, be-all. They don't consider the fact that, well, if I don't have a degree, in the event that I get injured and I can no longer play sport, I could fall back on something that I went to school for. They don't look at, okay, well, I'm retired or I signed a contract. How do I budget this money? How do I spend this money? It won't be here forever. So I think all of that needs to be part of what should be taught to persons growing up in sports.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and I do know that there are certain aspects of financial literacy being pursued by the government and the central bank at this point in time. Central bank does have an entire portfolio structure projects with different pillars touching based on financial literacy. Now diving directly into the sports aspect of it, I'm not sure how deep it goes, but there is something that you could start with this financial literacy. Knowing how to save your money, understanding the basics of money, because let's be honest, a lot of times whenever an athlete reaches to that level, it's, I wouldn't say sudden, but it normally catches them off guard. They have this big influx of money and attention and fame and whatever the case may be, and there's not really someone there that they have put in place that, all right, you need to do this and you need to do X and Y. So you're right, that has to be in place. And where it all starts from here, and we need to see how we're going to move forward. It does not, sports no longer should be something that we're doing ad hocly. It has to be a structured plan and a level of discipline that is implemented in pursuing and executing this plan. Having ideas and thinking that, oh, we could do this or we should do this, and never putting a structure in place or never executing it is neither here nor there. It's not doing anything for sports. You have to figure out how you execute it. And you'll meet hurdles, definitely you'll meet hurdles. But you have to also work with people and see how you could either overcome the hurdle or move the hurdle out the way. So that's just how we have to do it. And in order for us to get to a certain level, we need to start at the basics. Olympics is coming up right now. The National Olympic Committee is even having an Olympic Day coming up on June 23rd, which I would also encourage everyone to come out as well. It's happening right at the Marion Jones Stadium, and all disciplines that are active in Belize will be out there. So bring out the family and friends and ensuring that your child can come out and see maybe a sport that may pique their interest, and then you could start to engage with those personnel and see how you could get them to go to classes and learn in the sport. And you never know, you might just find that next great talent just coming out at the Olympic Day. So it's happening on June 23rd, and it's a good event. It happens every year. And the theme this year is Let's Move. So you could go on the Belize Olympic page, as well as the Belize Athletic Association page to get more information about this, as well as more information about the workshop. So you could sign up. There's a Google form online, and you could sign up and register as soon as possible. We would prefer that registration be completed by Thursday, just so that we know numbers to cater for and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the things I've noted just from my interaction with sports in the sporting community is that the structure is really at the grassroots level for the most part. That's where you see structure. And these aren't people with a lot of financial backing. These are people that are often just passionate about the sport, whether it's football, basketball, you're talking Amadea, football, you're talking about the Mundialitas and these little community teams, athletics. You have several athletic groups across the country and clubs across the country. But these are people that are passionate and passionate in seeing the sport advance. But what happens if these people decide, you know what, it's too much. The financial burden is too much. We're losing passion and we're not seeing a way forward. Would these disciplines fall flat? What does the nation have then to fall back on?
See, that's one of the things that is worrisome. And what we're trying to do with athletics is moving towards clubs, having more clubs. I mean, for argument's sake, one of the major clubs in athletics, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with, is the Splash Club.
That's Placentia.
Yes, Placentia, Miss Patty Ramirez. She does an excellent job of having her clubs, and she have different segments of the club within the districts. And she does an excellent job. She keeps her club fully intact, and she has that passion for it. But it's like what you said, what if that passion goes?
What if that goes?
And we need to get more people as passionate about the sport in order for them to do more clubs, because clubs are actually the way to go in terms of developing the sport and developing the structure that we want. So one of the things that we're trying to do as this new executive is to keep track and field visible. So that's why we push these initiatives, and we've even partnered with TNC sort of to get this visibility out. So TNC showed the track meet live the last time we were there. And so it's trying to build different relationship with these companies and these entities and having them coming on board. And once they're on board, then after that we could start to see how we could build more clubs and having these resources behind it. Because if it is that, it does require resources, and the association is willing to help, but we need to see how best the community can help out. And one of the things that I think was lost with track and field, the community wasn't really familiar with it. The only time we hear or think of track and field is, oh, Olympics is coming, who are we sending? Speaking of which, just to say, Sean Gill has been selected as the Olympic representative for Belize. So, I mean, he has been consistent, he's worked hard, and he's an upstanding young man. He just recently finished his degree. Same thing I was talking about, a student athlete. So he's moving places, and this is his Olympic run, and he'll be representing Belize in Olympics in the 100 meter. So we just need to see how we could get the community involved. And there are people out there that are willing to do it, but have we engaged with them? Have we tried to bring them on board? Have we shown them that there's a structure? Because one of the things that we recognize as the association is that we cannot go out there and ask for help if it is that we don't have a structured approach, or if it is that we're not accountable. So one of the things that we as the association need to do to make sure we're accountable, and people understand that when they're investing their finances within the association, that the finances are being used prudently. So that is one of the things that we know. So we all have to have accountability.
Right.
It's not just going out there and soliciting funding. No one will give you funding if they don't see what is coming off the funding, or they don't believe in what you have planned. So again, it comes back to our visibility, putting out a structured approach or a vision, and having these initiatives in place and making sure that we hit the media and having these things put out. So it's all part of the process that we want to get to the same things that you guys are expressing.
And my final question has to do with the length of time that is given for individual athletes to prepare, or for teams, if that were the case, to train. Because while we are talking about putting structures in place and moving away from any ad hoc organization of students or athletes participating in sporting events, I don't know that we're giving our young and present day athletes sufficient time to be able to work together as a team, or sufficient time to be able to practice individually ahead of an outside match or anything of the sort. Can you speak to us on that?
One of the things with team sport in particular, you need to have time to build that chemistry and work together. So we've always seen that there are sports whereby we're sitting back and say, all right, football is just sending out a team and they're just getting together 2-3 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
But we also have to understand that there are certain hindrances in that. For as adults, we don't have any professional athletes here. So most of us are working and have that 9 to 5, and also making sure that we're taking care of the family.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get time off to go and represent the country, and your employer is not necessarily worried that you're going to represent the country. So at the end of the day, they're just looking at you're losing hours and you're not putting in that time. So there are certain hindrances whereby are faced with these associations or federations, and while it may be lack of planning on some of the parts, so it's dual-fold. We also must understand that we as a community have to do our part, meaning the employer, the association, planning ahead of time, making sure that there's things in place in order to provide this avenue for proper training. Now, in terms of more track and field, these athletes go out there maybe in the morning or in the evening and getting this training done and working out. And we have our coaches. I know for when I used to work out, I used to have to schedule my time with my coach away from my working hours. So what I'll do, I'll call my coach and ask him to what time he'll be out there, when he's not available. Then I YouTube something and train myself. So you just have to figure out ways around it until we help putting the structures in place. We need to do more things in order to avail these athletes with more resources. Making sure that they have proper resources and proper time to put in order for them to perform at their optimal level.
So one more time, my brother, remind us, we have a training coming up this Saturday, a workshop. Where will it take place?
It will be at the Ned Pitts building at Marion Jones, the Grey building, Olympic building. June 15th, it will be 9 to 4 o'clock. We'll provide refreshments and snacks. And we're looking to have it as interactive as possible. And you'll be able to meet with experienced, world-renowned coaches.
All right.
It's an opportunity for you to do that, and it's one of the several initiatives that we have coming up. We also have an officiating certification program, and you will also get a participation certificate from this workshop as well. So just come out and support. Go on the web Facebook page, Belize Athletic Association, and click on the Google link, and you can register there. If you could do it by Thursday, that would be perfect. We want to know the numbers as much as possible. This is an opportunity for you to better yourself, building your capacity, and also starting with these things, with these structures. It gives you a better view of those aspiring coaches or physical education personnel of what you need to do and where you want to go. Because there are a lot of persons that are interested in coaching and have been doing some coaching, but why not have that professional acumen behind your name rather than just saying that I just do it and I'm not there. You also have to look at the economic benefit for yourself. If you develop yourself and your capacity, there's no telling how farther you can go with it. So it's just things that we need to put in our minds, that it's not, you could turn your hobby into an economic booster for yourself and for your family. So come out 9 to 4 o'clock and come and have a good time of building capacity and relationship building and stakeholder engagement.
Wonderful. Thank you very much,
Thanks for
Mr.
having
Smith.
me. Appreciate it. Thanks for having
President of the Belize Athletic Association. With that, we'll take a break, and when we come back, it's time for wrap up. Stay tuned.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
13,835,700 eggs are eaten by tourists each year, fueling our thriving economy. Tourism means business.
Global rise in temperatures due to climate change increase the severity of dry weather conditions experienced in Belize. Forest fires, dust buildup, and contamination of our power lines can result in power interruptions. At BEL, we continue to do our part to minimize the impacts of challenging weather conditions and improve the reliability of our power line system. You can help. Report forest fires or damaged power line structures using our BEL 24/7 app or call us at 0800 BEL CARE. That is 0800 235 2273. We continue to serve you.
Hi, my name is Leah Mangar, and I am currently the Administrative Assistant at Yasche Conservation Trust here in beautiful Punta Gorda. I received the Social Security Board Scholarship in the year of 2021. After I was told that I was a successful recipient of this scholarship, I was very grateful. This scholarship has assisted me in various ways. Firstly, it relieved me of financial constraints. So that was the main obstacle that was keeping me back. But receiving this scholarship allowed me to gain the skills and the knowledge that I needed to attain the job that I currently have. I would just encourage you all to apply to the scholarship. And the process is very, very easy. You will find a link and it will direct you to everything that you need in order to submit your application. And once you submit it, pray and just hope for the best, because you just will never know if you can get it.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate your lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And that does it for our show this morning. Of course, we want to thank you, our lovely viewers, for staying tuned with us on this wonderful Monday morning. We also want to thank all our guests for joining us on set and having these awesome, engaging, insightful, informative conversations that we've had this morning. It's Monday, June 10th. If it's your birthday, we want to say happy birthday to you, and we hope you have a great Monday. What better day to celebrate a birthday than at the start of the week? Perhaps you're still tired and sleepy from partying all weekend. Nonetheless, we hope you have a great day today. And if you have a birthday shout out and we didn't get it today, you can always send us an email or if any questions or concerns at oie@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us every single day live on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BC, as well as all our behind the scenes highlights, some of what's happening on set that you don't get to see live. That's on Instagram at OYE Belize. But again, be sure to join us again tomorrow, where you right here on set, where you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
But until then, be sure to keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a great day, Belize. See you all tomorrow.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.